Hello, welcome to the old Fliers. The Night Witches were a pioneering Soviet all-female night bomber regiment. The Germans nicknamed them because the whooshing noise their wooden planes made resembling that of a sweeping broom. This sound was the only warning that the Germans had. These flies flew under the cover of darkness in plywood biplanes. They braved bullets and frostbites in the air while battling scepticism and sexual harassment on the ground. They were feared and hated so much by the Nazis that a German airman who downed one was automatically awarded the prestigious Iron Cross Medal. Their planes were too small to show up on radar. They never used radios, so radio locators couldn't pick them up either. Using female bombardiers wasn't the first choice for the Russians. Adolf Hitler had launched Operation Barbarossa, his massive invasion of the Soviet Union, in June of 1941. By October, the Germans were just 35 kilometres from Moscow. Leningrad was under siege and the Red Army was struggling and had few reserves. The Soviets were desperate. Soviet women had previously been barred from combat, but the pressure of an encroaching enemy gave Soviet leaders a reason to rethink the policy. On October the 8th, 1941, Stalin gave orders to deploy 3 all-female Air Force units. The women would not only fly missions and drop bombs, they would return fire, making the Soviet Union the first nation to officially allow women to engage in combat. Previously, women could only help transfer planes and ammunition. The squadron was the brainchild of Marina Reskova, known as the Soviet Amelia Earhart, famous not only as the first female navigator in the Soviet Air Force, but also for her many long-distance flight records. She had been receiving letters from women all across the Soviet Union wanting to join the effort. Reskova petitioned Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin to let her form an all-female fighting squadron. She selected 400 women from 2,000 applicants for the 3 units. Most were students ranging in age from 17 to 26. Those selected moved to Engels, a small town north of Stalingrad, to begin training at the Engels School of Aviation. They underwent a highly compressed education, expected to learn in a few months what it took men several years to grasp. Each recruit had to train and perform as navigators, pilots, maintenance and ground crew. The military, unprepared for women pilots, offered them meagre resources. Fliers received hand-me-down uniforms from male soldiers, including oversized boots. Their equipment wasn't much better. The military provided them with outdated Polikarpov PO-2 biplanes, 1920 crop dusters, that had been used for training pilots. These light, 2-seater, open cockpit planes were never meant for combat. In the harsh Soviet winters, the planes became so cold, just touching them would rip off bare skin. To this day, they remain the most produced wooden airframe biplane in aviation history, due to both the plane's limited weight capacity and the military's limited funds. The pilots also lacked other items their male counterparts enjoyed. Instead of parachutes, which were too heavy to carry, radar, guns, radios, they were forced to use more rudimentary tools such as rulers, stopwatches, flashlights, pencils, maps and compasses. There was some upside to the older aircraft. Their maximum speed was slower than the stall speed of the Nazi planes, which meant that these wooden planes, ironically, could manoeuvre faster than the enemy, making them harder to target. However, German fighter ace Joseph Kosiak found a way and grounded the Soviet regiment for an entire night by shooting down 4 of their planes on the night of the 31st of July 1943. The Polikarpovs could only carry 2 bombs at a time. The 588th First Mission on June the 28th, 1942, took aim successfully at the headquarters of the invading Nazi force in order to make meaningful dents in the German front lines. The regiment sent out up to 40 2-person crews a night. Each would execute between 8 and 10 missions a night, flying back to rearm between runs. The weight of the bombs forced them to fly at lower altitudes, making them a much easier target, hence their night-only missions. Planes, each with a pilot up front and a navigator in the back, travelled in packs. The first planes would go in as bait, releasing flares, attracting German spotlights, which provided much needed illumination. The last planes would idle their engines and glide in darkness to the bombing area. It was this stealth mode that created their signature witch's broom sound. Their last flight took place on May the 4th, 1945, when the Night Witches flew within 60 kilometres of Berlin. 3 days later, Nazi Germany officially surrendered. Altogether, these daredevil heroines flew more than 30,000 missions in total, or about 800 per pilot and navigator. The regiment collectively accumulated 28,676 flight hours, dropped over 3,000 tonnes of bombs and over 26,000 incendiary shells, damaging or completely destroying 17 river crossings, 9 railways, 2 railway stations, 26 warehouses, 12 fuel depots, 176 armoured cars, 86 firing points and 11 searchlights. In addition to bombings, the unit performed 155 supply drops of food and ammunition to Soviet forces. They lost a total of 30 pilots. 24 of their flyers were awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union. Raskova, the mother of the movement, died on January the 4th, 1943, when she was finally sent to the front line. Her plane never made it. She was given the first state funeral of World War II, and her ashes were placed in the Kremlin. Despite being the most highly decorated unit in the Soviet Air Force during the war, the Night Witches Regiment was disbanded 6 months after the end of World War II. When it came to the big Victory Day parade in Moscow, they weren't included because it was decided their planes were too slow. Thank you for watching.